Hello and welcome to Gut Shot, home of the spiciest MTG hot takes. As always, I am one of your most intrepid hosts, William, and with me as always is my other most intrepid host, Frederick.
Hello, I'm Frederick, aka War Crimes Uwu on Twitch, and welcome to Gut Shot, the only Magic the Gathering podcast that arrives 6 months late, too curled to play.
curled. They say that one of the reasons that causes curling is moisture, like in the air, where these cards are being stored. And let me tell you, I have 4 beverages in front of me right now, so I am very hydrated, very humidified over here. I want to know how it is where you're at. How humidified are you?
Pretty humidified. I took a shower recently. My hair is still wet. But something my girlfriend did, she tied a thing of lavender around the head of the shower, which I didn't know you could do, and that makes the whole thing smell like lavender. And now I smell like lavender, and it's pretty great. I wish you could sniff me right now, audience.
Maybe one day we'll get to the point where we can have like a scratch and sniff podcast. I think if Steve Jobs hadn't met the end that he did, maybe we'd have that by now.
Yeah, maybe we can meet some fans at a convention and let them sniff us.
Yeah, that would be great. Maybe get Discord going, have like you have the text channels, the voice channels, but then you can have the scent channels where you can sniff your intrepid co-host.
Yeah, I want to live in that world.
That was just me repeating your joke. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Listen to this. All right, when you talked about your girlfriend tying the lavender in the bathroom, this reminded me a couple of years ago I moved into a new apartment, and it was in one of these really old downtown buildings. No central air or anything like that, really old. And my girlfriend insisted on coming in with me, like the first time I entered the apartment after signing the lease. She came in with me with like essential sage oil and then like a bundle of sage. And she burnt the end of the sage and like spread the smoke around the room, and then took the essential oil and like sprayed it in the corners of the room because she was really worried about there being ghosts in the apartment. And my apartment smelled like sage for like 3 months afterwards.
I enjoy the smell of sage, and I'm just going to put that in the moon landing was fake territory, in the like stuff that's pretty much like definitely not true or doesn't work or isn't real, but like you're not harming anyone by believing it.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that goes in that territory with me. It's not like there's no bridge from essential oils into QAnon, so I'm not gonna like fault someone for believing essential oils are real. And they smell good. That's where the effects of them end for me. But they do smell good. Sage smells good. I like sage. But I mean, hey, a ghost never haunted you, so who looks stupid now?
That's true. I was never haunted, but I didn't think I was going to be haunted. Now, hey, it was important to my girlfriend, so it's important to me. That's how that works. I love my girlfriend. I'm actually not too big on things like smelling good. Like, obviously I want things to be clean, but I'm not one to put air fresheners or like burn candles or anything like that. So the sage smell kind of was getting to me after a while. I was like wishing it would go away and that my apartment would just return to smelling like just like clean nothing, Yeah. The only kind of scent that I'm super into is the scent of Pack Fresh Magic cards. Am I right?
Yes, very good. Pack Fresh Magic cards and gasoline, my 2 favorites.
Gasoline?
Yeah, I like it. It smells good.
Is there a story behind this? Or
no, I just really like the smell of gasoline. When we go into a gas station, I just like the scent of the gasoline. I don't like snort it, but I like gasoline smell. Anyway, this is a Magic podcast.
Oh, well, scent is the most it's the sense that's most tied to memory, right? You smell gasoline at the gas station, it takes you all the way back to the first time you were huffing gasoline at the gas station. Magic cards are the exact same way, and we kind of went to talk about we want this episode to be upbeat and happy given everything that's happening in the world and everything that's happening in Magic right now. We wanted to just look back and think about what got us into the game, what we love about this game, and why we're still playing all these years later. So I'm ready to hop into the nostalgia train and look way back.
Yeah, me too. To back during a time when my life my life is great now, but there's just a feeling of youth that you never really get back. You never realize which of those really fun nights in your childhood is going to be the last one.
Right.
And some of those nights were spent playing Magic. So.
Yeah. We talked about this a little bit before we started the podcast, but this is going to delve slightly into sappy territory. So be forewarned. We're going to get a little bit sappy, but hey, I am 31, and I've been playing Magic for like 17 years now. You cannot deny that this is a huge part of my life. And even if I were to stop playing Magic today, like this was the Lion Wizards, I'm never playing, I'm selling all of my cards, it would still always be a big part of my life because of those 7 years. So you can't fault us for feeling as strongly about this game as we do.
Yeah, and I am 21. I've been playing Magic for about 7 years. No, about 10 years probably. So I would have been in middle school, so like 9 or 10 years. Scars of Mirrodin. Scars of Mirrodin. I've been playing since Scars of Mirrodin. And I also have a lot of sappy memories of this game. It's one of my favorite games. I keep coming back to it no matter how much it frustrates me or the owner of the LGS I go to turns out to be a neo-Nazi. I always come back to it, so I'm really glad that it's been there for me and that I've been able to an extent, be there for it. The community, the cards, everything. It's really important to me. So sappiness warning, we're going to be sappy in this podcast. What is the first topic that we sort of have to discuss in terms of Magic memories?
Yeah, this is a great time to tell actually the story of how I first met you, because it's related to Magic. We have this Magic podcast. We played so much Magic together. We actually met at a tournament, and you mentioned that you're 21, I'm 31. We're 10 years apart. So we met about 5 years ago, something like that.
I was a sophomore in high school, and I'm now a senior in college. So 6 years ago.
Yeah, it's like 2015 or so. And I, had been playing Magic for a long time. I had kind of just ended kind of a break with Magic, because you never truly quit, right?
Yeah.
And I had played Modern before, and I, took a break for a myriad of reasons, and decided that I wanted to start playing Modern on a weekly basis again. So Sundays were my day. I would get on the bus and ride it all the way out to the outskirts of town to the most competitive focused LGS that we had in town, and be there all day and play in a $5 Modern tournament. And this was one of the very first times that I actually did this on a Sunday. I had my Infect deck. I was sitting down, didn't really know anybody, just kind of going through my list, all that stuff. And I remember hearing some kid that was sitting behind me say, "Does anybody mind if I play proxies this tournament?" And I that kind of piqued my interest, because I was like, no, you can't use proxies. But I think we ended up letting you do that. And I think you were proxying Beast Within or something like that. So that's my first memory of meeting Frederick, and we hit it off and played lots of Modern after that.
So the tournament before was actually when I remember meeting you, and we just had a brief game. I was playing Tron, but I literally just I realized that the Tron lands were good, and I wanted to put all the good big red and green spells I could in the deck. I didn't know they were called Tron lands. I had inherited them from my uncle, and no, he didn't die. He just gave me his Magic cards, and I had put Fires of Yavimaya in there as a way to give my creatures haste, and I had put Stang in there, the classic from the Legends set, because I could make him cheaper. You got another Stang when he came in. You can't beat that.
That's pretty good. Hey, that's what we call a 2-for-1.
Yeah, for real. It's value. I understood value. If only there were another creature that made more creatures that you could play in Tron. But yeah, that was what I was playing, not realizing that those cards were not legal in Modern, and all of my opponents either didn't know or just didn't want to ruin a kid's day. And then the next week or a week after that, I had played against my biology teacher who was playing Mono Green Devotion, and so I proxied most of that deck, and I made it my goal to eventually finish it with real cards. And lo and behold, it's 2020. A lot of changes have been made to the list. Bloodbraid Elf got unbanned, so it got splashed in there.
Yep.
Field of the Dead came out. There's been some changes to the list, but it's 2020, and I'm still playing Mono Green Devotion. And we're still playing Infect.
Oh, yeah.
So, old habits die hard. But I remember that tournament. I remember getting the vibe that you were really annoyed with me, which is understandable because I do not shut the fuck up during a game. If my opponent wants to be friendly with me, then I made a new friend. And if they don't, then I distracted them and I'm more likely to win. So I do not stop talking, sometimes about stuff that has to do with the game, sometimes about stuff that has nothing to do with the game. And I got the vibe that I annoyed the shit out of you, and that's fine, whatever. I think a week or two later, I mentioned that I liked Weezer, and we started talking about Weezer.
Yes, I do remember that, and I have no recollection of being annoyed by playing with you. So if I seem that way, I apologize officially.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
But yeah, just by hanging out and doing those tournaments every week, and talking about things like Weezer, and just playing pickup games of Magic, we became best MTG buds.
Yeah, for real. I think I bought your GameCube off of you.
Oh, for like $20.
Yeah, it was a great steal. You were done with Metal Gear Solid, which was apparently the one game you wanted to play on GameCube. Yeah. And I wanted to make my Pikmin and Pikmin 2 speed runs official. So I needed an actual GameCube.
So I know that you just recently bought a capture card. I know nothing about these. Is it? I know you bought it so you could stream Switch games. Mm-hmm. Can you use the capture card to stream original GameCube games from the GameCube?
No, because it's HDMI.
Okay.
And I can just stream those from on Dolphin.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I bought your GameCube off of you. We went for a walk around my neighborhood, and then we would meet up at the library in my neighborhood and just play my cube every once in a while I was in high school. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. But we were both playing Magic before we met each other, and not so much like the story of how we started, but I wanted to talk about what was it about Magic that made you kind of stick with it for as long as you have. What initially about Magic caught you and sunk your claws in and didn't let you go? And I'll go ahead and start first. Yeah,
one of the things that really got me super enamored with this game was the mystery and discovery of what all Magic had to offer. I was just I was I think a freshman, sophomore in high school when I first started playing Magic. And so this would have been right before original Mirrodin. And by that time in Magic, which seems like ancient history now, but there Magic had already had a storied history before that. So when I would go into the card shop where I would play Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, let's be honest, I would see these Magic cards and I would be so oh, that's so old. Where did that, what set was that? How long has this game been around? There's all these cards and they all seem so, powerful and flavorful. How much is there to this game? And something that I've always liked with Magic is just there's always something new to learn about the game, its history or cards that were printed or the stories about the development, stories about the Pro Tour and competitive play. I would hear about all these old decks that use these super powerful cards like Psychotog. I'd be like, Psychotog? What the hell is that? So that huge library of information was a real draw for me because I just wanted to jump in and learn everything that I could about this game.
Yeah, I remember feeling similarly to that. I played Pokemon for a while at LGSs before I started playing Magic, and even while I was playing Magic. And honestly, I think I enjoy the Pokemon TCG as much as I enjoy Magic, but there's just never as much of a community for it.
Yeah.
Unless you're at a big LGS, if we still lived in City Redacted, or if I still lived in City Redacted and could go to LGS Redacted, I would be playing a lot of Pokemon, I think. I think part of what's kept me in Magic is the community. It is the friends that I've made. The real Magic was the friends we made along the way. And I think a lot of people get pulled back into Magic by their friends. I know, like, I've met most of my best friends and my partner through Magic, so it's been my chief form of social interaction. But as a game, I think just the fact that it can change so much but still be the same over all these years, like, they can add so many different mechanics and make so many different permutations on cards, and I can still recognize right down to, like, this is the naturalize in this set, but it uses this new mechanic, and now I've learned this new mechanic that's in this set, and I feel comfortable using the set. Even if I take a hiatus, when I come back, I'll recognize cards, basically. The game teaches itself to me over again. And I think another big part of it for me is teaching new players, like letting them borrow decks, showing them how to draft a good limited deck, teaching them to make their deck only 60 cards instead of bigger, and why you should have 4 copies of the really good cards. Like, just little teaching moments of new players is something that I really, really enjoy about Magic. And I would say those are the things that keep me coming back. And, like, Magic is so many different games, too, with each different format. So, like, it has the built-in method of preventing it from getting old, which is just, like, if I get bored of Modern, I can play some Standard. If I get bored of that, I can play some Legacy. I can get heavier into Draft. I can put my cube back together. There's just a lot of different ways to play it. I can laugh at Commander players. There's a lot of different things that I can do within this same game that prevent it from getting stale.
Well, here's the thing. You don't have to be playing Commander to be able to laugh at Commander players. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
That's free.
Yeah, right.
You can just do that. I love all of those points. And yeah, I've definitely heard this before. And I feel the same way. Magic is not one game. It's many, many different games all under the same umbrella that use the same language and have interlocking communities. There are the Standard players. There are the Commander pods that you see in the corner of the room all the time. There are the Modern grinders. The people who are always there to just like trade cards. Even though nobody's traded a card in Magic since 2014.
Right.
It changes all the time. With the nature of the way cards rotate. That's a great point. That Magic is always changing, evolving. New formats are being added, like Pioneer that was just added. All of the Arena online stuff has been added, which is kind of detrimental to community, but it also forms its own different kind of community, one more geared towards the future. But yeah, like, things very rarely stay the same in Magic, and that's definitely a good thing.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's one of the biggest things.
Although tons of people want Magic to stay the same. Like, there's definitely a huge contingent of the Magic that community that all they want to do is just play Tron mirrors against each other over and over again for 20 years in a row. And you know what? Magic's for them too.
I feel like I'm almost that, and like, I don't know. I'm like sad about. I'm sad about Modern changing as much as it has. I want my deck to be good forever, and I don't want to play against Urza or the new busted red-green mid-range. Like, I don't know.
Well, hey, that's the thing. Magic changes all the time. It'll change again. Something new will happen in the future, and we'll just have to live with that change as well.
Yeah.
I also really like what you said about subculture. Magic is it's both very accessible to new players in the sense that getting a hold of at least like a stack of 60 cards is pretty easy. You can just go into an LGS like on draft night, and you can just get like a bunch of commons or a free welcome deck, and like you can play Magic that day. And the rules of Magic can be a little esoteric, but in the way they are, more intuitive than some games. Like I feel that, like, if I sat down with somebody who was just at 0 for Magic and teaching them, that they would, be able to pick it up in a game or two, at least the broad strokes of how it goes. But once you go like deep into Magic, it is very much its own subculture. I love those things where people will talk about Magic in places that aren't Magic centric, and it literally is like they're speaking another language.
Yeah.
our the way we talk about the game and all that stuff, we've made up so many words and stuff, and card names mean different things. If we talk about Bob, talk about Gray Ogre, a bear, that kind of stuff, a fling, an op. So it is, once you're into it, like, it really is like a community that is of itself. Like, if you're around Magic players, you're home, because they speak the same language as you. They know the cards. You don't have to say that Magic is kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, but not really. You don't have to do that. The community really does make the game, and I've always felt that way. And that's part of what's kept me in the game as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's a big part of it. Now, Magic and our memories of Magic are sort of built on big moments. And from what I understand, we've compiled some of our favorite moments that we have played in Magic to sort of share with each other and our audience. Well, why don't you start us off?
Okay, so all right. So my stories are not really going to like blowing anybody's brains, but they feel pretty good to me. I remember one time, this was one of those. It is a little bit after I met you, but it was still that Sunday Modern tournament.
Sunday $5 Modern, 2 p.m.
Exactly.
Yeah, show up, get some Taco Bell before.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that was before the that one restaurant. Oh, that was before they moved, and that the other restaurant was over there. So it was just Taco Bell, and well, I guess it was really was just Taco Bell.
Yeah, I had to settle for fucking Moe's now.
Yeah, Moe's. Oh, the Burger King was over there. I remember getting Burger King a lot.
Yeah, their veggie burgers were a little too expensive. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. Okay. So I was playing Modern, a Modern Effect as I was doing, and I was playing against a guy playing Blue-White Control, and that was a deck you could play back then. It was not like super tier 1, but like it was a real deck. And we traded back and forth. I played some guys. He removed them. Path to Exile and all that. And I remember on turn 5, he taps out for Gideon Jura. And and like that would have just been a death nail for that game that I was playing. But me, being the intrepid co-host of a Magic podcast that I am now, was smart enough to have a Spell Pierce in my hand. And let me tell you that I have never cast a Spell Pierce that felt as good as that one time that I
Spell Pierce Gideon Jura.
The one time that I got the Gideon Jura with a Spell Pierce. I still think about that sometimes. Sometimes I'm just walking and like feeling good. And I just think about, good times in my life. And I think about spell piercing that Gideon Jura. And I'm like, man, that was good.
Yeah, it feels nice.
Yeah. How about you? I know that you're a huge Mono Green Devotion deck. Do you have any good stories about that deck?
I have some excellent stories about that deck. So the first one I'll get into, there was this terrible guy that went to our LGS. Just super cheater. He would steal people's shit all the time. During Khans of Tarkir Standard, he bought damaged foil Mantis Riders so he could shuffle to them while he was fetching. Just real shitbird. And he stole a couple, or tried to steal a couple cards from my cube. And I stopped him. I asked if I could look through his bag before he left, and it was my Misty Rainforest, my Breeding Pool were in there. And he tried to say they got swept up when he was moving his stuff into the bag, and I called over someone from the LGS. Anyway, it was a whole fiasco, but they couldn't ban him because they couldn't prove that he had tried to steal him. There was a PPTQ at this LGS, and we were both playing in it, and I didn't expect to do super good. The thing is, I couldn't go to the GP. Like, I couldn't get transportation to not the GP, that I would have gotten the buy for. But there was a box of original Modern Masters split between first and second.
Ooh,
right?
Yeah, nice.
And so I paid in anyway, because this was my first event that I paid $30 to get into, and there were huge prizes, and I was just really, really excited. I went to I ended up getting to the top table. The first round of top 8, I won because I won the first game because there was an error in my opponent's deck list, and they had just put Island and Plains instead of Snow-Covered Island and Snow-Covered Plains, and they were playing scrying sheets. But I got to the last round of that tournament, and it turned out to be against this guy. And I told him...
So with this person, I actually don't know the story you're about to say, but on the Gabe scale, 1 to 10, where are they?
I don't know. To me, Gabe doesn't know a lot about Magic, which is why they're so shitty about it. This guy knew a lot about Magic, but he was real terrible to be around.
Okay.
Probably, pretty much definitely a Gabe. Like an 8, I would say, if 10 is complete Gabe. So this guy, I straight up told him, I knew he was just looking for the buys. He fancied himself a grinder. and I told him, hey, I will give you the buys if you give me the whole box. And so he said, no, I'm not doing that. I'll give you place packs, like more than half of the box, and I'll take less than half of the box in the buys. And I said, no, like I already really didn't like this guy. I knew he was playing Jund, which was a great matchup for Mono Green Devotion.
Yeah.
And he was just like, no, I'm not doing that. We're going to play for it. And I was like, oh, okay, we're getting cocky. You're going to win. So I played against him. I asked him every turn how many cards were in his hand because I knew he was the kind of guy who would draw extra cards all the time. He got really, really frustrated with me for it, called a judge over to try to get me to stop. And I told him, no, I don't have to stop. I get to ask you how many cards are in your hand every time you do something. And I ended up getting a Primal Command off on turn 2 in 2 of the games.
Nice. Now that's I don't know if that's your favorite card, but that's pretty up there for you, right?
Oh, it's my favorite. Yeah, Primal Command's literally my favorite card. Rest in peace, Wayne England.
Yep.
And it's great. So yeah, I ended up winning those games, and I took the W. He asked me then if he could give me like 4 of his packs for the buys, and I said no.
No.
I would honestly rather you just not get the buys and me not get anything extra. I took my first place packs, and I didn't go to that tournament.
That is awesome.
It felt really nice.
Yeah, that's close to something I wanted to talk about. I'm susceptible to like really bad mood swings when I play. You know, if I'm having like a real bad losing streak, like I'll admit it. You know, like it can get really, it can really get to me. Not in like a angry way, but in a like low self-esteem kind of way. Like, oh, I'm worthless. I don't deserve to be here and all that stuff. And part of why I push through all that is because the highs are just so good. Like it must be what heroin feels like, to like be able to pull off what you did right there. You must have felt like you were the top of the world, right?
Oh yeah, it was the greatest high of all time. I am super vindictive toward people who I believe have done me wrong. I am intolerable all the time. And so that was great. Like it felt like I was delivering karmic justice. Of course, I scrubbed out of like several other PPTQs at that shop, but it didn't matter because that one I won. That was my first place.
And you did it with your favorite card.
Yeah, I did it with my favorite card, with my favorite deck. Yeah, I played Ponza. That was the other thing I wanted, and that just didn't feel the same. I mean, it was fun, but it was, I don't know, it wasn't my deck.
Remind us again, when are you getting your Primal Command tattoo?
Oh God, if my girlfriend will let me, whenever. Babe, if you're listening to this, give me permission for a Primal Command tattoo.
We're gonna start a GoFundMe. Get Frederick his Primal Command tattoo.
It's not an issue of money. It's an issue of my girlfriend wanting to look at me and take me seriously.
So I have another story, and this is actually an example of like like how good the Magic community can be. My very first official tournament that I went to that wasn't just like unsanctioned, a store shop owner is running on the back of a napkin somewhere, was the 5th Dawn pre-release. Now this is going way back. This is like spring of 2005. Yeah. Oh, spring of 2004 or 5. One of those. Somebody fact check me on that. But very, very first thing I really, I ever went to, I got my DCI number, the only one I've ever had. And I guess not that you can't use DCI numbers anymore, RIP. But the only number I ever had, I got at that tournament. And towards the end of the tournament, I played sealed. My deck was terrible. I was losing, all over the place. Didn't know what I was doing. It was the very first time I ever played limited. Was doing that sealed deck. But I remember being there, standing by a garbage can for some reason. Just I guess just soaking in the vibe, taking a break. Just looking around. I remember this older guy. He kind of reminds me of like, if you're at an LGS and there are like some like older people there, who are like, you could tell they're like the old school, like Star Trek nerds, or like the old, like Warhammer players. They just have that different vibe than us, younger card players.
Yeah.
He had that vibe to him. And I remember him coming up to us, and maybe we just had the stench of new player on me and the other person I was with, but he came up and he handed us like, a sleeved sealed deck, is what I think it was, and he just handed us these cards and was like, "Here, you can have these." And we were like, "Whoa, this guy's just giving us Magic cards? This is insane." And we were like, "Oh, are you sure? We'd love to have these." He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm done with those. You can have them." And he walked off. And I mean, I'm sure there was nothing valuable in there, but it was so long ago and I knew so little about the game. I didn't really know what I was being given. But that show of just like unprompted generosity of like, hey, here's some cards and sleeves too, so yeah, I don't know why there were sleeves, but I guess he didn't want to take the time to unsleeve them. But that just really left an impression on me, and really, really informed my perception of what the Magic community was. And it goes back to that, if a newer player goes to like Friday Night Magic and people are drafting, people often just give away the commons and uncommons that they don't want to someone who wants it, because that would be the same type of thing that happened to me that really made me think, oh wow, this community, they're just they're willing to just give cards to newer players to get them started, and that's always stuck with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Those kinds of moments in like the card game community, like there's just some stuff that's like so valuable to one person and just easy to give away to another person, and like it's just, I don't know, it helps continue the sort of cycle.
Yeah, for sure.
Of getting new people into our community. And I really appreciate that. You just can't have that with a lot of like video game communities and stuff.
Yeah, I don't really do any limited events these days in quite a while. But I do try to look out for those opportunities where I could also pay it forward, so to speak. So hey, Magic community, pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I've got another little moment, but you were here for this moment.
Against me?
No, I told that story like 1 or 2 episodes ago.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, the crumble and does.
Yep.
I'll tell another Butch story, since you were there for the one I was thinking of.
Okay. Yeah.
My younger brother Butch, God bless him, he's like 8 years younger than me. There was one Two-Headed Giant pre-release that I did with him, and he'd never done a Two-Headed Giant before. We were already losing, and I was a little bit tilted, but I knew he was really excited to be there, so I was trying to put on a happy face for him and just, finish out the tournament, enjoying it. I'm like, yeah, buddy, I'm really, really proud of you. I'm really glad that, you made this play, because I am. I'm proud of him, and I'm happy to be playing with him. But we had one game where this is the 8th of Revolt pre-release. I leaned over to him, and I showed him one of my cards, and I was like, well, we should probably leave this mana open for this counter spell, because bluffing it was probably realistically the only way we were going to be able to win that game. And Butch just looks at me really puzzled and goes, "That's not a counter spell." And our opponents just both like are trying not to laugh. And it just helped me remember, like, Magic is about having fun. It's about little moments like this that just kind of make you giggle. And that was just a really nice moment for me. I really enjoy that. And it reminds me of what it's like to play with my little brother. He's one of my favorite people. And, he's a lot older now, and he knows not to do that in Two-Headed Giant. But he's still pretty funny.
Yeah, Butch is so cool. What does giant growth do?
You gotta tell that story now.
Okay, I think we've told this story, but I have what is called a cubelet, which is a collection of 100 cards, no lands, and the idea is that you shuffle it up and deal it between 2 or more people. And you can play any card face down as a basic land, that taps for any color, and you just play the cards as is. And we were doing a 3-way game between you, me, and your brother. And when I built it, it's a high power level thing. It's got stuff like a Hypnotic Spectre, Snapcaster Mage, Bloodbraid Elf, Bloodbraid Elf, that kind of stuff. But so I chose to make all the cards readable for anyone who was a bit newer to Magic. The only exception to this was I had a full art textless giant growth that I put in there, thinking everyone knows what giant growth does.
Everybody knows what giant growth does. It's not Cryptic Command.
Only one person in the world doesn't know what giant growth does, and that's Butch.
Butch, if you're listening, we love you and are very happy that you're part of our Magic lore.
Hey, Butch, if you're listening to this, giant growth gives target creature +3/+3 until end of turn.
And it's an instant.
Here's another story, and it kind of goes to like the wonder of like being like brand new to Magic, and like I said, the discovery of learning about Magic's history and Magic's future. Like I mentioned, I started a little bit before original Mirrodin, and I remember going to a store in town with my mom. We went for something. Mom bought me like 6 packs of original Mirrodin, and all I knew about it was that it was the new Magic set. I didn't know anything about it being like artifact themed or anything that was in the set. As we were driving home, I was sitting in the front seat and I was opening up the packs and looking through them. And of course, these were all new cards to me. So every card was like super cool. I'm opening up like a gold mirror and being like, wow. And then opening up Leonin Scimitar. And I'm like, wow. And then I'm opening up like something else that's in there but like junky. I'd be like, wow. And I'm sure I opened up something that was like really good and just like, oh, I don't know what that is. I'm sure I opened up like artifact lands and just been like, oh, I don't know what that is, never mind. But the real heavy hitters I was super excited about. And my mom actually gave me kind of a hard time about that for a while, because apparently I would, every time I'd see something cool, I would be like, wow. And
Aww.
So anytime I would like have my cards out, or I'd be like, like looking at Magic or like talking about Magic, my mom would make fun of me. She would be like, wow.
That's really sweet.
Yeah. So anyway, my mom bullied me, and that's why I'm the way that I am.
Nice. Does your mom listen to the podcast?
No.
I think my dad does.
Nice.
I'm not sure. I know my girlfriend does, and I think Butch does. Anyway.
Listening to your loved one's podcast, I'm going to say it's based.
It's poggers.
But like, I think that, like, I wish that I could feel that way again, that I could, I wasn't so jaded, and I could open up a pack of like a Zendikar. I could pick up a pack of just see every single card and be like, wow, kicker,
That's why you got to play a new card game every while.
Yeah, I guess so. But I guess that's just shows how good Wizards is, or at least used to be, good at world building and creating these really flavorful planes. And I really hope that Wizards continues. I do think that that's one thing like that they've always been really good at, and I hope that they continue to be good at, is their original world building. And I was just so enamored by it when I first started.
Yeah, because they do a really good job of meshing flavor with function.
Yep.
Yeah. I will follow in your footsteps of pack opening adventures, turning into stories, and I will add in my own. When I was a kid, I got my uncle's collection, but then I would also I would save up my allowance, which was like my parents would do this thing where they divided it up between like this much goes in my fund for college, this much goes to a charity of my choice, and then this much actually goes to me, and I would get like $3 a week to spend on what I wanted. And this is before I ever went to a local game store or played in a tournament, but I would I picked up I would pick up a pack every 2 weeks with my allowance, or about every 2 weeks with my allowance. And Zendikar was one of the, I don't know if it was the newest set, but it was one of the sets that was still at Target at the time. And my mom swung me by Target, and I picked up a pack. And I remember being really pissed because my rare was a land.
Oh, okay.
Pack. And I was just kind of like, I was trying to hold in my disappointment because I knew my mom would be kind of mad if she took me all the way to Target, and I was mad about what I pulled from my pack. So I remember trying to be excited about the 7-mana 7/6 worm or whatever at the uncommon slot.
Yeah.
And that card ended up going into a Slater, which I dug out when I was trying to finish Mono Green Devotion, the first competitive deck I ever built, and I ended up trading it in then to get like my playset of Garuks, my playset of Primal Commands, and like one of the Primeval Titans, like a lot of stuff.
I'm sorry, I think you cut out there for a bit. Where did the card go?
Into a box.
Okay.
Like one of my boxes of cards, because I figured it was no better than like one of the just tapped dual lands. I remember reading it and thinking, well, it lets you pay a life to get an island or a forest. I could just play an island or a forest, and I wouldn't have to pay any life. Why would anyone ever use this?
Yep, that's. I'm sure I did think. I cringe to think about cards that I opened up when I was younger that I really should have hung on to and didn't for whatever reason. Like if I could go back and like and like see like the trades or like the selling that I did back when I was younger, I wouldn't feel like, oh yeah, I can save myself. I would just die of cringe.
Yeah, I got rid of my uncle's playset of Force of Wills, which he didn't realize were expensive when he gave his collection to me. And I feel really stupid for that now because I could be playing Legacy. I got rid of his Blood Moons, which I stand by because they were $40 at the time, and I still think Blood Moon is a bad card, and I'll argue with anyone about that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's a hot take for another episode, which we can do an overrated, underrated cards episode. But yeah, like I remember those moments, but I did thankfully hang on to the Misty just because I didn't get rid of any of my cards back then, and I was able to end up trading it in for most of the first competitive deck that I ever played, Mono Green Devotion. So there's a happy end to that story.
The spirit of that Misty Rainforest is still like infused in your current mono green decks, or not mono green. It has red in it now, but it's still there. The spirit is still there.
There is a Misty Rainforest in it.
Oh, nice.
Because I bought one later as an adult to remember how excited I was to pull the card. It's a little damaged, but it was cheap, and I needed more than a playset of fetches for that deck because you have to grab Stomping Ground sometimes.
Right. I have one more story real quick. This was at a side event at a GP a couple of years ago. I think this may have been like early 2016. But I was still on the Infect train. Infect was actually really good. This was right before Gitaxian Probe got banned. So this was like the last hurrah for like Infect when it was like top of the world modern.
Push.
Yeah, and you know, back in those days, and still a little bit now, there was always like a discussion about like fair modern decks and then unfair, you know, quote linear decks, and you know, fair and unfair Magic.
Mm-hmm.
This deck was unfair. Like Infect, especially at that time, was not a fair deck.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I sat down with this guy who was clearly, you know, older, like, you know, knew he was doing, you know, like maybe considered himself a grinder, but you know, we sat down, exchanged pleasantries, you know, we're shuffling up. He said to me, "All right, you ready for some fair Magic?" And I just like immediately quick bet, absolutely not.
Nice.
He ended up playing ad nauseum.
Did you end up winning?
I did win because that's actually at that time it was a favored matchup for me. But he was not playing fair Magic, and neither was I. All right, so you know the Magic in the past has been really good to us. You know, lots of good memories. You know, occasional bad ones, but you know we're still here years and years later to play this game. So you know, like I don't plan on quitting Magic. I know you don't either. What are you most looking forward to that you know is keeping you playing Magic?
I foresee Modern shaping up eventually. It ebbs and flows, good format, bad format. And I think it'll be good. It'll be fun again soon. Whatever bannings or unbannings they need to do to fix that, to target the sort of unfair decks that are dominating right now. I'm excited for Paper Magic to start up again. Finding a new LGS, so finding a good LGS there will be cool. Because the one in turns out the owner's not so great. But being able to sort of find new community, I'm really excited for Kaldheim. That's, you know, near future. That's going to be is that going to be the next set?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Holy shit! Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm really excited for Kaldheim spoilers to come out soon.
Yeah, but that's till January. We have a couple of months until then.
Yeah, but I'm I'm for the future of Magic. I'm excited to make new friends through Magic, honestly.
I'm right there with you on the community. You know, that's one of the things that, you know, really got me, you know, playing Magic all those years was like, you know, showing up to the card shop, you know, week after week and like knowing these people and them knowing me and trading with them and playing games and like knowing about them. You know, these days, you know, with not, you know, tournaments not happening, we're not getting that. The proliferation of online Magic, which is, you know, good in its own way, and I'm definitely invested into Arena, but you know, it's just not the same. And yeah, I'm also looking forward to getting back in there, seeing people face to face, and you know, rebuilding this incredible community.
Yeah, I agree. I think that'll be That's a good way to put it. I'm optimistic for the future of this game.
One thing that I'm really looking forward to are new worlds. Like I mentioned before, Wizards has always been really good at creating new worlds. And going back to ones that, you know, I remember fondly from my, you know, youth playing Magic. Now, they've made some missteps, and there might be some missteps in the future. Harry Potter set. But anyway, I'm really looking forward to seeing what new planes Wizards will come up with and how those cards will be flavorfully shown, you know, through the cards and mechanics of you know, new cards. I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to, like, I know it's kind of a joke now, but you know, the very first Zendikar set was really important to me. That was kind of you know, me coming back into Magic and really getting invested into the competitive side. So you know, I love it when we go back to these plans, go back to Zendikar, because it feels that much more real to me. I cannot wait for us to go back to Mirrodin. You know, not just because I'm sure it'll be a great set and that, you know, I'm a big Infect fan, but you know, it'll just take me right back to those days when I was opening up those packs in the car and going like, wow, the Leonin Scimitar, wow. You know, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think I agree too. You know, going back to if we ever go back to Tarkir, I think that will instill that sort of feeling of wonder in me.
You're gonna explode when we go back to Tarkir.
Oh yeah, absolutely, all over the place. I'm so
going back to Tarkir would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just really excited for, you know, people to lay off of Mark Rosewater when we finally have a balanced standard again.
Yeah, that's true. We have to treasure Mark Rosewater, and just Magic. It's a good game.
Yeah, we do have to treasure Mark Rosewater. On that note, let me my mic. It's time for another drive work. I'm sorry if that hurt our listeners' ears.
Hey, Mark. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of the inane questions that people ask Mark on Blogatog that aren't just complaining about, you know, recent controversy.
Yeah. Well, why do you hate everyone? Why are you literally Hitler for allowing a good card to get printed in a standard set?
Do you think Pol Pot would have printed Hornet Sting?
Probably. I don't know about Pol Pot's ideology.
This is why people shouldn't be, you know, like asking Mark questions directly. Like,
yeah,
no. But yeah, Magic. I've actually always been the type of person to say things like, there are a lot of good games out there, but I really do, like, it's arguable, but I really do think that Magic is just like the greatest game ever. Like, for everything that it's done for me and given me, you know, I can't see myself being this devoted to anything else, and to me, Magic is the greatest game, you know. So I understand that's arguable, but that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think it is. It's definitely the game I owe the most to in my life. I think I'll definitely put it that way. I don't know if I'd be able to say that it's my favorite game, but it's definitely the game I owe the most to. My current romantic relationship, and ideally my future romantic relationship, all of my best friends, just years of like getting me fixed socially. Like, I'm not going to get into my problems with like social interaction from my childhood, but Magic was the catalyst that really, really solved those for me.
For you, it's a bit of a triforce between Magic, Pikmin, and Fire Emblem, right?
In terms of actually meeting people and being social, though, it's definitely Magic.
Right. Yeah. So Magic, you know, hope it sticks around forever and ever. But yeah, that's all the sappiness we wanted to get out for this podcast. You know, thanks for joining us. Thank you for listening to Gutshot, the absolute sappiest MTG hot takes. As always, I'm Will at Aggressive Rhetoric on Twitter.
And I am Fred at War Crime Zoo on Twitch. No one listened to this episode because it was sentimental instead of vitriolic. So that's all that we have for this week. Oh God, I can almost hear the music in the background. Join us next week where we go back to being very mad about basically nothing.